Do you know what's going to happen if the government shuts down here over the weekend or over the week before Christmas? Do you know? Absolutely flipping nothing. Nothing is going to happen if the government shuts down. Some federal employees might be furloughed and they'll get paid once the Congress reaches an agreement. But all of this stuff, I mean, how stupid does Washington D.C., do these Democrats, even Republicans, how stupid do they think we are? You're not going to know. You get your Social Security check. This is what is astounding to me. They literally, I mean, there is no time, perhaps, that the government is involved in greater lying than when it comes time to, pass some kind of budget bill or continuing resolution in this case. I mean, there are essential government services and non-essential government services. The essential services are like Social Security, and yet those essential services are not affected by any government shutdown. And yet it doesn't stop the Democrats from lying through their teeth every single time to tell you that, grandma and grandpa are going to starve and freeze because the Social Security check's not going to come because the Republicans shut down the government. And by the way, this is always a back and forth strategic. Who's going to be held responsible for shutting down the government? I wish we could change. I wish I could wave a magic wand and the American people would just change their thinking on this and get with the program. I mean, the government shut down, over 20 times since 1974. It shut down 6 times during Ronald Reagan's presidency. And Ronald Reagan, by the way, won 2 massive landslide elections. So obviously the government shutdown didn't hurt him. And, it's amazing because, I think, I've heard it said that only 17% of the government actually shuts down when it shuts down, which tells you what? It tells you how big our entitlement programs are, for one, because those keep functioning. So this is ridiculous. They're playing with you, but it's a good thing I'm here today, Drew Allen, the millennial minister of truth, because we need a dose of truth here. People are very impassioned right now, certainly on the Republican side of things, about what's happening. Your, pro-Trump, pro-MAGA supporters who are upset that the second continuing resolution that was presented, that would be the 116-page bill as opposed to the 1,500-plus page bill that preceded it. Well, Trump supports this shorter bill. And he is asked, and it was going to continue to suspend the debt ceiling. And your Chip Roys and your, former Never Trumpers that supported DeSantis mainly, they love Chip Roy. That's fine. And they are taking that side of things. And they are talking about how fiscally irresponsible Trump is for calling for this. How could he do this? And the passion that these people have, that's wonderful. But it also makes them stupid. And I'm not going to be passionate as I discuss this subject with you, because you deserve for somebody to remove themselves in some way from the clutches of emotional blindness and to tell you the truth about what's going on. And the truth is, Chip Roy and these 38, I think, some odd Republican House members who voted against the 116-page continuing resolution, they are grandstanding. Now, I don't know. I mean, some of them may be duped themselves. Some of them, frankly, just may not be very smart. But I think most of them know exactly what they're doing. And the truth is, and I know this is going to be hard for some of you to understand. Look, I agree with you that the deficits in the national debt is the biggest problem that we have to confront. And Trump has made it clear that he intends to address that with the creation of Doge, run by Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, that's supposed to go in there and just cut waste left and right in the government. That's what their sole purpose is. But look, there are 2 ways to get out of the situation we're in. Are you aware of this? There are only 2 ways. There are not more than 2. There are only 2. Here are the options. The government can raise taxes exorbitantly they would, of course, have to reduce spending as well. But they could raise taxes exorbitantly to take in more revenue from the American taxpayer to start to pay down the debt. And of course, the consequence, inevitably, of doing that would be a contracting economy. We would have a recession, certainly, and that's the option. So you can punish the American people and create contraction in the economy by taking more money out of the private sector and socking it to you and me to pay down the debt, or you can, in fact, lower taxes, reduce regulation, and spur economic growth. And of course, in this equation too, you also have to reduce government spending and get it under control. So that has to happen either way. But you can take more money from the American people and see an immediate increase in taxes available, or you can give people tax breaks across the board, businesses and individuals, and you can spur economic growth. And in the short term, you're going to see reduced taxes go into the federal coffers. But in the long term, you see explosive growth. And that's the best way to deal with the debt. To slice government, cut it down to size, reduce it in on a massive scale, and to cut taxes. So that you have because I mean, we know this from experience. Reagan did it, Trump did it too. And when you lower taxes, that is your real investment in the economy, because you're encouraging people and giving them an ability to spend more money, create more jobs. Okay. So it's not a zero sum. It's not that things are stagnant. This is all the jobs we can. No, it's not. It can grow and grow and grow. But government policy influences that. And that's the direction we need to go. Now, Chip Roy and the individuals that don't want to suspend the debt ceiling. Now, we have to have a little background. Currently, the debt ceiling is suspended. That is to say, there is no debt ceiling right now. There is no debt ceiling. It has been suspended, and this was a bill passed, an agreement reached between then Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy and Joe Biden. Well, Joe Biden. I've got a news story coming up soon that you've probably heard about that I'll get into. Joe Biden hadn't been there for 4 years, and now they're starting to admit it. But anyway, somebody in the White House and the Republicans in Congress passed a bill that suspended the debt ceiling until January, I believe it is, of 2025, but until next year. Okay? Now, why could it be beneficial or necessary to, I know this is going to be hard for us because we're fiscally conservative, fiscally responsible, but why might it be important or necessary to raise the debt ceiling and push that, to raise the debt ceiling, to suspend the debt ceiling for additional time while Trump's in office? Well, the reason is, two, actually. The Democrats, first and foremost, let me tell you why the Democrats have opposed this 116-page bill that would extend the suspension of the debt ceiling. Well, this is because the Democrats, they have said that their objection to this lifting of the debt ceiling, they say that it would make it easier for Republicans to cut taxes next year. That would be when Trump comes into office. He's promised tax cuts. We need these tax cuts, and we need to deregulate in order to spur economic growth. That has to happen. That is part of Trump's promise and his plan. And so Democrats are trying to obstruct that opportunity, because you are going to hit the debt ceiling if one is in place if you slash in a massive way taxes right away. Now, 2, 3, 4 years down the road, it's going to be irrelevant. You're going to have explosive growth, and you're going to have actually more income via taxes because of the additional jobs and wealth created than you would ever have had if you simply raised taxes to try and get the money. So there you go. So that's why the Democrats object. So they're admitting that this debt ceiling, they're acknowledging that this debt ceiling is a problem for the Trump administration because it's not going to allow him to cut taxes. And this debt ceiling debate, I mean, this is going to be the noose that they try to tie around Trump's neck over the next year. And so it is absolutely imperative if you want. Always some technical issue. I touch the table and the mic goes off and goes silent. So I gotta keep my hands up like this. Hands up, stay on microphone. Okay. So anyway, it's imperative that this debt ceiling, remain suspended so that the Democrats and Congress, because look, this is going to be the issue that Democrats use and rhinos as well to hold up the Trump agenda. It is effectively what Trump-Russia collusion was during Trump's first administration. Well, we got to deal with the Trump-Russia collusion. We can't support this agenda. And by the way, many of these same Republicans, they didn't support funding the wall. They said it was too expensive. Then they turned around and had no problem sending $200 billion or whatever it's been to Ukraine to fight a proxy war. So I just want you to understand that they are grandstanding. They are under the guise of being fiscally responsible because, what they want to do is impossible right now anyway. I mean, think about this also. Who is the president right now? It's not Donald Trump. He's the president-elect. Right now, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, they are president and vice president, and they are nowhere to be seen in these negotiations. Nowhere to be seen. They have absconded, their role and responsibility in this. And they just rushed back to the White House, by the way, I'm sure, to try and pretend like they're involved and to give the Democrats some ammunition. But, there are a lot of things that we can learn from this. I'm not finished talking about it. But first off, we need to deal with Speaker Johnson. This is a man who is not built to lead. He's not a leader. He's not a leader. He's a follower. And he's just out of his depth, out of his league. I will not pretend to understand his inner thoughts and heart. Whether he's a good person or bad person, I don't know. What I do know is that he tried to pass the 1,547-page monstrosity that was a poison pill to the Trump administration. That's what he was bringing to the floor to get a vote on. And he supported that. He supported it until he didn't. But he wasn't a leader. He didn't think to himself, no, this is too long. No, this is ridiculous. This is going to hurt the Trump administration. Because built into this bill of pork are all kinds of measures that are going to hamstring RFK Jr. From looking into these vaccine companies. It's going to prevent Donald Trump and his DOJ, led hopefully by Kash Patel, from investigating the thievery and criminality that took place under the previous administration, with Liz Cheney engaging in witness tampering when it came to the J6 investigation to try and make Trump guilty of a crime he didn't commit. So these were all things in this bill, and Mike Johnson he was going along with it. And then because of the pressure that we put on them, he went back to the drawing board. And then we got this 116-page continuing resolution instead, which, by the way, think about how evil these people are. They tried to get away with this. They tried to stick a 1,547-page continuing resolution to fund the government. 1,500 pages? You need that much text to fund the government? To give Americans aid in North Carolina and elsewhere affected by this hurricane? Obviously not, because you just turned around and gave us a 116-page bill. So they tried to get away with this crap again. And in a minute, I'm going to talk about what we should do with Congress as well. Most people know that staying hydrated is essential to nearly every bodily function, but 75% of Americans still don't consume enough fluid daily. And that has been a problem for me. I will be very honest with you. I am part of that 75%. And as we age, naturally bodily changes make staying hydrated even harder, especially with artificial additives or excess sugars. And that's where Native Path comes in with extra help. Now, I am taking this, and it's been a game changer for me because I know this sounds funny to people, I don't like the taste of water. I'm not a water drinker. It tastes bad to me. Its tastelessness is bad. And water does have a taste, by the way. It's not tasteless. So I don't like water. So I don't drink water. And so I dehydrate. And it's not good for my body. And I'm going to look old. And I don't want to look that way. I got another kid coming any day. I'm on baby watch. I need to retain my own beauty and shine. So, but anyway, so Native Path Hydrate, it's not just another drink mix. It's a thoughtfully designed formula packed with BCAAs and all 9 essential amino acids to help with muscle recovery and overall vitality. Plus, it's completely sugar-free and 100% natural. With their Native Hydrate product, you can fuel your body with essential electrolytes at the cellular level for overall vitality. And it's unlike other hydration mixes that are designed for marathon runners. I'm not a marathon runner. Those contain upwards of 1,000 milligrams of sodium. I don't need that. Native Hydrate contains just 230 milligrams of sodium. So it's for optimal daily hydration. People like me who just need to get the water down, but don't want to drink water. And it doesn't have artificial flavors, sugars, or dyes. It's only 5 calories per serving if you're one of these calorie counters out there. And right now you can get up to 44% off just for being a listener of this show, The Drew Allen Show. Every order comes with a 365-day money-back guarantee, 2 free gifts plus free shipping. Visit nativehydrate.com/dailyclout to see what Native Hydrate could do for your health. So the site name is nativehydrate.com/dailyclout. And I'm currently taking many of these things myself, Tangerine being by far my personal preference and favorite out there in terms of these hydration drink mixes with the electrolytes. So, that's me speaking personally. All right. So, by the way, okay, yes, I've got it here. So I just want to, people don't understand also this friction between Chip Roy and Donald Trump. Donald Trump has come out basically and said, if this guy, Chip Roy, he's opposing this continuing resolution that I have supported, someone needs to get out there and primary him. And people say, Chip Roy's the most conservative person in the House. Why would we lose him? They're taking Chip Roy's side over Trump's side. Some people take Trump's side over Chip Roy's side. But I just want to tell you, as the Millennial Minister of Truth, where some of this originates from. Now, let me ask you a couple questions. You've heard me talk about, and if you haven't listened to the recent podcast, you should check that out, where I talk about the real scandal in the J6 stuff. And I talk about how the government was obviously involved in that, the FBI was involved in that, and how it was entrapment. And it was obvious to most of us, actually, shortly after it happened, when every media outlet in the country said at the same time, this is an insurrection. It's a talking point. It didn't look like an insurrection in any way. And yet every left-wing news outlet was calling it an insurrection at the exact same time. Give me a break. So it was obvious to me that Donald Trump did not incite an insurrection. And it was obvious to me also that we needed to look into the fraud that took place in 2020. And many members of Congress were eager and willing to do that. But not Chip Roy. Not Chip Roy. Here's Chip Roy back in 2021, shortly after January 6th. Listen to this.
The President of the United States deserves universal condemnation for what was clearly, in my opinion, impeachable conduct, pressuring the Vice President to violate his oath of the Constitution to count the electors. His open and public pressure, courageously rejected by the Vice President, purposely seeded the false belief among the President's supporters, including those assembled on January 6th, that there was a legal path for the President. It was foreseeable and reckless to sow such a false belief that could lead to violence and rioting by loyal supporters whipped into a frenzy. Unfortunately, my Democratic colleagues drafted articles that I believe are flawed.
So he did not ultimately vote to impeach Donald Trump over it, only because he disagreed with the text and the exact rationale given by the Democrats who proposed them, but he did just as much damage there, taking the side of Democrats and buying the lie. Not only the lie that they won the 2020 election fair and square and that there wasn't cheating to look into, and he's lying as well there as he grandstand. And this is why I mean, here's where my personal take goes in. I mean, I don't live in Texas now, but I am a former Texan. I grew up there. He's just full of crap. He's just full of crap. You know, it's just it's all a big show with Chip Roy. And I'm not saying he's necessarily a bad guy. I'm not saying that he doesn't have good and strong and important positions in Congress. You know, I'm not somebody here to just dismiss outright everything about somebody because I disagree with certain things. But my point is explaining to you, imagine you're Donald Trump and imagine going through what you experienced, them impeaching you, them forming this J6 committee, them then using that as leverage to justify these other criminal investigations into you, the raid tomorrow. This all goes back to the Democrats getting away with what they did in 2020. And you're Trump, and here's Chip Roy taking the side of the meeting Democrats, saying that you have committed what he believes are impeachable actions. So anyway, so I don't blame it. If Chip Roy did that crap with me and I was Donald Trump, I would have actually primaried him already. But I would make it my objective to make sure Chip Roy never step foot into that Congress again. That's a pretty big mistake he made, folks. It's a pretty big mistake he made, all right? Even in light of all the good you might believe he has done. But anyway, that's what's going on. If we don't move this debt ceiling, and this is the one unique circumstance where it's necessary for us to do so. It's the one circumstance, you know, it's not the same when Democrats want to raise the debt ceiling or suspend it like it is now currently. No debt ceiling, whatever. And by the way, the debt ceiling affects borrowing, not spending. All right? It's how much you can borrow. And you know how the media gets when they start talking about defaults. We've never had a default in this country. That is when we cannot pay our debt. We cannot pay what we've borrowed. We've always managed to do that. We've never defaulted. And it is Kevin McCarthy and Joe Biden and the Democrats and Republicans who preceded this incoming Trump administration who are actually responsible for this situation we're in. They didn't deal with it. And so now Trump's coming in there and he has a mandate from the American people, and we desperately need him to change Washington, D.C., and have the most impactful presidency, one of the most impactful presidencies in our history in order for us to have success down the road. And now we have this possible default and the debt ceiling issue that threatens to prevent that agenda that we desperately need from being passed and supported, because you're going to have Congress sitting there arguing about the debt ceiling and other things instead of putting forward these bills to change the way this country operates, to give us opportunity. So they want to tie his hands behind his back. They want to just stop the locomotive in its tracks. And Chip Roy and these other grandstanding Republicans are supporting that. I will remind you one more time what the Democrats have said about why they don't support suspending the debt ceiling further. The Dems objected. This is from the Washington Post. The Democrats objected because they said lifting the debt ceiling would make it easier for Republicans to cut taxes next year. That should be everything you need to know. Now, I want to weigh in on something else. I'll get into some other topics in a minute, but I want to stick with Congress because we need some education here and edification. You know, it's amazing how what one-track minds we all have when it comes to the supposed solutions or even problems that exist. So right now, you know, in this bill that they first tried to slip through the House for the continuing resolution, right, there was a raise. So members of Congress, those who aren't, there's members of Congress make $174,000 per year. Now, if you're in leadership positions, you get a little bump here and there, but it's $174,000. So if you're elected to Congress tomorrow, you go to Washington, D.C., your salary is $174,000 a year. And it hasn't been raised in like a decade. And so they were trying to raise it to $180,600. So it's not a huge amount, and really it's inconsequential. The number doesn't matter. You know, the number of people in the House and Senate, whatever else you want to pay them all $6,000 more bucks or what is it? Yeah, $6,600 rate, $6,600 raise. But so I don't want you to think that I support this. I don't. But I'm also being fair and saying, $6,600, that's not breaking the bank in the U.S. My problem is, how many of these Congress pronouns constituents earns $174,000 per year? And more importantly, as you've heard me say on this show before, how many of these Congress pronouns are qualified to earn $174,000 per year in the private sector? AOC was a bartender before she went to Congress. Was she making $174,000 as a bartender in New York City or wherever she was living? No. And what job could she have gotten with her limited skill set and experience that would pay her $174,000? None. She'd been making under $100,000 a year. So my point is, for many of these people, now there are plenty of rich people in Congress too that don't need this salary. But there are a number of people too where this is lucrative. I mean, how many of you are making $174,000 a year? Many of you are not. In fact, most are not. And you work, by the way, far more than members of Congress. Now, I don't care. There are people out there that say, I've never seen anybody who works more hours and hard. Blah. Shut up. I work hard too. Many of you work hard. I don't have any, sympathy for, oh yeah, they're in their offices all night, pouring through these bills that they're trying to get passed through Congress so they can destroy my life. Now, Congress is only in session for about 128 days a year. So they really actually go to work 128 days, right? That's when they have to be there, have to show up in Congress, in the Senate, in the House chamber, which means they weren't in session for 227 days. Now, there are 365 days in a year. And, the point is, if you can pull up the calendar of days that Congress actually was held in session. And, I looked at this, by the way. So this past year, 2024, in October, they were in session 9 days. That means they had to go to work 9 days in October. Did you get, 21, 22 days off in October? Well, I guess I really am going to have to do the whole show with my hands up. Because I touched the table and the microphone just shuts down somehow. Is this appealing to you, watching me with my hands like this the whole time? Anyway, like I was saying, they were in session 9 days in October, 9 days in August, 14 out of 31 days in July. So this is a joke. So these people, why are we paying them to be full-time Congress pronouns when in fact they are part-time Congress pronouns? Am I allowed to ask that question? The truth is, Congress should be a part-time job. And it used to be. Congress used to meet, twice a year. So, the first 6 Congresses, if you go back from 1790 to 1800, the first session finished in March, and then they had a second that typically ran into May or June. And these weren't jobs. Being a House member or a senator, these weren't jobs that you were supposed to do for a living. They were supposed to be sacrifices that you did temporarily to serve your community and country, and then you went back home. And in fact, you never had to leave your old job behind because you were expected to come into Congress, do your duty, and go back home, and you still had your job. And there were certain state constitutions in the early days that had that as a requirement. You've got to maintain your job as a farmer or et cetera while you're in Congress because they didn't want this to be a career job. And what do we have today? It's a career job. But there is no reason, I mean, I am more than happy to spend our tax dollars flying these people back and forth several times a year as need be and even put them up in some place to stay than pay them all $174,000 a year to be out of touch with the American people because these people stay in Washington, D.C., they live in their bubble, and, you become, the company you keep. And these people are around a bunch of snakes, and they become snakes themselves. They're sitting there dining with special interest groups and so on and so forth, lobbyists, and they become immediately out of touch with their constituents and the American people and their actual duties and responsibilities. And it's not necessary to be a full-time job. They're not doing their job any better because they don't have another job. Most of these people need to have other jobs so that they are realistic. I mean, AOC, this is how it starts for these people. AOC's never had a career, never had a real job. She was a bartender. That's fine. She ran for Congress. She was elected, and she's been in Congress ever since. So she doesn't have any experience in the real world. She doesn't know anything about taxation. She doesn't know anything about running a business. She doesn't know anything from life experience about how her policies affect the American people and her own constituents. And she never will because she'll just stay in Congress the rest of her life in government, and she was deprived of ever having the requisite experience that would make her a valuable representative. Eric Swalwell, you think he could make $174,000 out there? I mean, maybe China would pay him if he continues sleeping with their hoes. Spies. But anyway, that is the way to fix it. The way to fix it is to make Congress a part-time job. They don't need to make $174,000 a year. And I hear them complain, we have to maintain two homes, back home and in Washington, D.C. Many of us have roommates. Many of us live in our offices because we can't afford it. That's not my problem. That's not my problem. And maybe the answer isn't giving you a raise. Maybe the answer is, you know what? I hear you. You shouldn't have to maintain two homes. That's ridiculous. And that is hurting who can run for office out there. So what we're going to do is we're going to make Congress part-time. And think about it. These people aren't doing anything most of the month anyway. Most of these people aren't coming up with bills and so on and so forth. There's a handful of people that they pay that are in their staff, their staffers at the higher levels that are writing these monstrosities and so on and so forth. These people haven't even passed an actual budget. And I think it's been since 2007 or 2000. It's been forever. That is their job, right? They have the power of the purse, and yet these people can't even get a budget together. They do these omnibus bills every single year, where they put all of them together from the various committees. They do a continuing resolution. They can't get their act together. They would actually be more productive if they had their jobs back home and knew that, for 3 or 4 weeks a year or more as was required or necessary, they would show up and get their work done and go back home. But instead, these people just sit there in Washington, D.C., fat with our $174,000 we pay them in their salaries. They're ungrateful for even that. They are guilty of insider trading. Most of them are worth a ton of money. Bernie Sanders, lifetime servant, has multiple homes. He's a millionaire. How do you become a millionaire with $174,000 a year? So I don't get how it goes both ways. On the one hand, we're told they don't make enough money. They need to have an increased salary. On the other hand, these people have become multimillionaires on $174,000 a year. So which way is it? Explain that to me. Increased tariffs on our trade partners, tax cuts, and regulation changes. Learn why gold is a viable diversification tactic now more than ever. Birch Gold, the only gold company that I trust, I just did an interview with them recently too, is releasing their ultimate guide for gold in the Trump era with a foreword by Donald Trump Jr. To get your free copy, along with Birch Gold's free information kit on gold, text the name Daily Clout to the number 989898. Here are the facts. The national debt, this is what we've been talking about today, continues to increase. Our interest payments on the national debt continue to increase. Gold is still your hedge against a weakened dollar. And Birch Gold is still the company that I trust and many trust out there to help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in gold. Text Daily Clout to 989898 for your free copy of the ultimate guide for gold in the Trump era. There is no obligation. There's just information. And with an A-plus rating from the Better Business Bureau, countless 5-star reviews, and thousands of happy customers, you too can trust Birch Gold. Text Daily Clout to the number 989898 today. All right. You know, it's amazing. You're hearing the left out there, their latest talking point, that they are unified, right? The bat signal went up, the emails went out, and the Democrats' new strategy is call Elon Musk President Musk and call Donald Trump Vice President. You know why they're doing this, right? It's intentional. It's not actually just a joke. It had a nefarious purpose. They intended to drive a wedge between Elon Musk and Donald Trump because they understand that Donald Trump is an alpha. They understand that he cares deeply about. He has cared in the past very much about what people think about him, and he's made it known. He watches the media. He knows what they're saying about him, and somebody like Trump. And this isn't a negative, but somebody like Trump wants to be in charge. And so they're hoping that they can demean him and ridicule him, much like he did Justin Trudeau, and that it will have a similar effect of hurting him. Elon Musk, and look, I have a watchful eye on this stuff. So far I have no problem with Elon. If something changes or he does something different and it changes my mind, I will change my mind and let you know. But Elon is a genius of his time, a true genius. And he has put his talents to use in the political arena right now. And he has an important task. In fact, Doge, if successful, is a game changer for the situation in America. And in fact, as I've explained, we must cut government spending and the bureaucracy. We have to trim it. Not just trim it, but butcher it. And that is what Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy have pledged to do. And that is something that must be done. And so it makes sense that he's hanging out with Donald Trump a lot because those things go hand in hand. And Elon Musk has been very influential. And people out there say, I don't like how much Elon Musk is in. Why is the assumption that Elon Musk is the one solely influencing Donald Trump? Why do people think that Donald Trump is not influencing Elon Musk? Why does it have to go that way? It's just amazing. So anyway, but this is the purpose when they say, Elon Musk is President Musk and Vice President Trump, because they hope it will get to Trump and affect his ego, and that he will start to push away Elon Musk because they fear Elon Musk and the Donald Trump combination. And I love the left. They're suddenly very worried about billionaires influencing our government. Yes, they didn't care when it was George Soros, who, by the way, visited the White House at least 30 times. 30 times. The Biden White House, that is. I mean, why? And Soros, of course, is the go-to guy for the Democrat Party. He funds everything. He's their star billionaire. But suddenly Elon Musk, a billionaire, is involved in Republican politics. And they had Zuckerberg and all that stuff. They had plenty. They have tons of billionaires. But we have one, Elon Musk, who is taking a larger and public role in trying to save the country, and it happens to be on the MAGA side. And now we have an oligarchy. Now it's not tolerable. Do you remember when Elon Musk went after George Soros? By the way, so I just want to say this. You Democrats out there who are attacking Elon Musk, we know what you're doing. You are anti-African American. You are showing your racism. That's what you're doing. Your attacks on Elon Musk are anti-African American because, of course, he hails from South Africa originally. So we see your racism. When you attack Elon Musk like this and you make fun of him, we understand that you are a racist. Those Oops, I did it again. I touched the flipping table and I did it again. Anyway. But no, I kid you not. If you remember, Elon Musk, he actually called, he compared George Soros to what's the X-Men character? I think I've got it here when Jake Tapper talks about it. But so Elon Musk was attacking George Soros, and of course George Soros was funding these campus-wide protests throughout America that were pro-Hamas and anti-Israel. So yeah, George Soros, who is Jewish, of course, supports terrorists and Hamas. And so if you attack George Soros, who takes the side of the Muslims against the Jews, you're anti-Semitic. Explain that to me, but that's where they went with this. Listen to this, Jake Tapper.
Rebuke. Israel's foreign ministry today is slamming Elon Musk's recent series of tweets saying they have a, quote, anti-Semitic feeling to it. Yesterday, Musk launched a baseless Twitter attack against George Soros, the progressive Jewish philanthropist who's often the target of anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. Musk tweeted that Soros reminds him of Magneto, a comic book supervillain. Both, of course, Soros and Magneto are Holocaust survivors and Jewish. Musk's reply, he wrote, Soros does not have good intentions and, quote, wants to erode the very fabric of civilization. Soros hates humanity, unquote. Obviously, it's not necessarily anti-Semitic to criticize George Soros, but the tweets do engage, critics say, in tropes that Jews are falsely cast as evil masterminds.
Obviously, there's no evidence that it's anti-Semitic, but the experts, they say that it's filled with those tropes. And really, if you can read what's not there, he's really just anti-Semitic. Yeah, but isn't George Soros the guy that is funding the destruction of the state of Israel? Yeah, but he's a Jew. So that's my response to any Democrat out there that has a problem with Elon Musk. It's that you are a racist. Your racism is showing when you attack Elon Musk. And of course, the Democrats had no problem. Unelected bureaucrats are influencing our country. Yes, like George Soros. And you had Kamala Harris, of course, who didn't get a single vote in the primary that replaced Joe Biden. So what would you like to say about these unelected people having influence and sway in America? Amazing. And by the way, Democrats can actually keep their mouths shut for the next, forever. I could care less about any of their criticisms about Elon Musk or MAGA or Trump or anything that we're doing, because they spent the last 4 years covering up the fact that there was no president in charge of this country. That Joe Biden, in fact, was a brain-dead zombie roaming the White House, and they knew it. And they covered it up for 4 years. So you can take any of your little criticisms of Elon Musk or anything else and shove it up your pie hole. This is coming from the Wall Street Journal. They published the bombshell report on Thursday. And the report detailed how members of the Biden administration were forced to adapt to the president's advanced age and cognitive decline. It revealed a tightly managed operation to restrict access to him and meticulously manage his public appearances and interactions. The objective was to prevent the public from seeing his apparent weaknesses as president. Ooh, well, they couldn't. Anytime we saw him, we saw those weaknesses. Biden's staff designed a highly insulated system to limit his exposure to outsiders, including members of Congress and the media. His senior advisors acted as intermediaries and gatekeepers, ensuring the meetings were short and focused so the president would not lose track of the conversation. Even though his staff took these actions to conceal his cognitive issues, his public appearances betrayed apparent inconsistencies in his memory and energy levels. You think about all the times you saw clips from CNN and MSNBC and NBC and ABC, and they told you to your face during their news broadcasts that, you were like anti-ageist if you attacked his age, and that he was in fact vivacious and energetic, and that what you were seeing with your own eyes was not true. It was a lie. They gaslit you for 4 years about this. And these people now want to talk about anything. So National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan and National Economic Council head Lael Brainerd frequently acted as proxies for Biden during important policy discussions. Senior advisors were often put into roles that some administration officials and lawmakers thought Biden should occupy. Yeah, that's right, like the president of the United States. But you don't have one, so they're doing the job of the president for him. And they only pump him full of whatever they were pumping him full of here and there to shove him out in front of the public so that they could have a clip to prove that he was alive. That's how bad the situation was for 4 years. And now you've got Chris Cillizza, former CNN journalist, who is offering up a confession and an apology now that this story's come out, admitting that he should have pushed harder on covering President Joe Biden's mental. Oh, yeah, I should have pushed harder on covering. It just escaped me. I was busy calling Trump supporters Hitler, Nazis, etc. I was trying to keep Joe Biden in the White House. Chris Cillizza, the former Washington Post political reporter who later joined CNN as editor at large before leaving the network in 2022, posted a video on his YouTube page on Thursday, acknowledging that he failed to adequately cover signs of Biden's slippage, even though Republicans prodded him to do so. I should have pushed harder earlier for more information about Joe Biden's mental and physical well-being and any signs of decline. You don't loathe the media enough. You don't loathe them enough, and these Democrats who did this to you in this country. According to Cillizza, Republicans would regularly ping me during his tenure at CNN to quiz him as to why he didn't address obvious signs of the 82-year-old president's deterioration. Cillizza recalled how he would brush them off because he had not seen evidence that Biden was faltering. Couldn't see the evidence. The holidays are here, which also means it's sick season. Boy, is that true. Everyone around me seems to be getting sick. Sinus infection, strep throat, upper respiratory hacking, RSV, all this stuff that's going around. Everyone is traveling. They're passing it all around. Petri dish everywhere you go. But guess what? You don't have to deal with it this year, folks. Why? Because this little blue case, all right, that I'm going to tell you about is your mobile urgent care. It has ivermectin, Z-Pak, amoxicillin, and 6 other prescription medications at your fingertips. Thanks to the Wellness Company's medical emergency kit, you can tackle anything severe your body comes across without ruining your holiday plans and winding up in urgent care. The kit cuts through the red tape by allowing you to take control of your health versus being reactive and inconvenienced during precious family time. And how many times you go to the ER, you know what the problem is, but you just have to go to them to pay them a bunch of money so they can then give you what you know you need. Well, this removes the gatekeeper. And because their medical board created a guidebook that outlines common treatments for UTIs, strep throat, bacterial infections, respiratory illnesses, and more, all it takes is filling out a digital intake form, and your kit arrives at your door in 1 to 2 weeks. So you can travel with peace of mind this holiday season. Order your kit now by heading to dailyclouthealth.com and use code Drew Allen. That's me, Drew Allen, to save up to $30 off plus free shipping. dailyclouthealth.com, and that's for USA residents only. You realize that this Biden health cover-up is the biggest scandal, one of the biggest, if not the biggest scandals in American history. They knowingly put somebody in the White House that was incapable of fulfilling the duties of president, and then they covered it up for 4 years while they ran the country. Joe Biden wasn't running the country. And now they want to complain about Donald Trump and say that he isn't running things, that Elon Musk is running things because they're frequently together. Give me a break. You guys just stuck somebody in the White House and covered up for 4 years that we had no president of the United States. Oh, unelected bureaucrats are running the country like Elon Musk. We don't do this in America. Who was running the Biden administration? Nobody voted for the people behind the scenes. They voted for Joe Biden. I mean, dead people voted for him too, but still, people voted for Joe Biden to run the country, be president. And yet Joe Biden wasn't running the country for the past 4 years. It's been admitted. And now you got people like Chris Salitza say, oh, well, I don't know. I don't know why I didn't do my job. I guess I should have actually told the American people, but I just couldn't tell that he wasn't there. So he goes on, the White House and the people around Joe Biden were absolutely adamant that suggesting anything, asking the question about whether he was in some physical, mental, or both decline was offensive. Yeah, this is what they do. It's like, you can't criticize George Soros. You're an anti-Semite. You can't criticize Joe Biden's mental decline because you hate old people. Lawmakers told the Journal that they had limited contact with the president, who was largely insulated by his fiercely loyal staff. Salitza said that while I did ask the question from time to time, I didn't really push on it, if I'm being honest. Now, once I left CNN and once it became a little more clear to me about Biden's age, I think I did write pretty regularly and talk pretty regularly about how I wasn't sure that this guy was up to it. And then obviously after the June 27th debate, everybody, including me, was writing it. Wow, good for you. So it took the debate when it was popular and everyone decided that they needed to get rid of this guy because they couldn't possibly win a re-election with him. Then you bravely picked up your pen and said, guys, I don't think he's got it. After spending 3.5 years saying this guy's got it, and any of you people criticizing or questioning his age, you're conspiracy theorists. That's amazing, isn't it? I do encourage you to go back and listen to my last podcast about J6 because I want to add something. You know, the J6 committee, and Liz Cheney could very well go to jail, and she should actually. Liz Cheney should go to prison, as well as pretty much everyone on that committee and others. But the J6 committee was formed. Do you know what the primary reason was? Yeah, I mean, yes, one of them was to try and get Trump and damage him and prevent him from running from office. But the other bigger reason, I think, was because they were trying to cover up the Democrat and government involvement on that day. That's why they did this. And now that Trump has won, they're in shock and horror because it's time for people to pay a price for their crimes. Now, Liz Cheney, she allegedly exchanged calls. It's not allegedly. We know this happened, actually, but we can call it allegedly because she's not in prison yet. She exchanged these calls and messages with Cassidy Hutchinson, the Hutch. Now, she was the first-term White House aide to then-President Trump, who went before the J6 committee and committed perjury, telling them that Donald Trump had tried to grab the steering wheel from his, Secret Service person driving the Beast and force it. He assaulted him and tried to force him to drive towards the Capitol so that Donald Trump could then retrieve his sword and lead the charge into the Capitol. And it turns out that, one, it never happened, and two, the person she claimed told her it happened never actually told her that happened. So Cassidy Hutchinson lied, and she was in communication without the approval of her own lawyer with Liz Cheney. They were creating a crime, creating a story together, and witness tampering is a federal crime. So they were chatting via the encrypted app Signal, which, by the way, they put the CEO, arrested him or whatever, some Russian guy, I believe. But anyway, they were using the Signal app to communicate via encrypted messages. This is Liz Cheney and Cassidy Hutchinson, the liar, just weeks before her June 2022 testimony, which was all later debunked, as I told you. And, this is stunning too, that the House Republicans, I mean, they had this report come out on Tuesday and they took issue and brought up this Cheney's direct intervention with Hutchinson, who was considered a star witness, by the way, of that investigation. And here we go, just to reiterate. Hutchinson, who worked as an aide to Trump White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, had alleged to the Select Committee that on January 6, 2021, she was told Trump became irate and attempted to join supporters at the Capitol ahead of them, breaching the government building. The incident reportedly unfolded after Trump delivered a speech at the Ellipse, which is the park just south of the White House fence. Hutchinson alleged she was told Trump attempted to grab the steering wheel of a Secret Service SUV before the driver reportedly told Trump to remove his hand and that they were headed to the White House, not the Capitol. Hutchinson's account was directly refuted by Anthony Ornato, who served as White House Deputy Chief of Staff for operations under Trump after decades in the Secret Service. So Cheney has some problems, and she's a private citizen, and they're saying that, you know, we want to weaponize the justice system. It's not weaponizing the justice system if you're going after criminals. It's weaponizing the justice system when you go after innocent people and your political opponents who haven't committed crimes. It's weaponization when you try to create crimes rather than prosecute them. In our case, we just see crimes were committed, and we want to prosecute them because that's how law and justice in America works, right? No one's above the law. No one is above the law, folks. Liz Cheney's not above the law. Adam Kinzinger's not above the law. None of these people are above the law. And to prove to you, because, you know, you Democrats were right. You were right. No one is above the law. In order to prove that no one's above the law, all of you need to go to prison. And if you object and protest, it just shows you're a fraud. So, you know, the Democrats are not changing their tactics. You know, the President Musk was pretty clever. I will give him that. But times have changed, and it's not going to work. It's not going to work. And anytime, it's just every time they even come up with something that might have been effective in the past, the unprecedented damage they've done to their own reputation and image over the past number of years prevents it from being efficient or effective anymore. These guys are out there trying to humiliate Trump and drive a wedge between him and Elon Musk by saying Elon is calling the shots, not Trump. And a story just comes out as you're saying that you all knew that Joe Biden wasn't fit for office and that he basically was just a walking zombie, incapable of doing anything, and you covered it up. So pound sand. All right. Christmas is upon us. I want to wish everyone, honestly, just a sincere and Merry Christmas. Like I said, I'm still on baby watch. My second daughter could be here any day. I cannot wait for that moment and to tell you the news. So we'll see, but I'll be around, and I am eager to update you next week with the direction the Republicans are headed. All right, this is Jerome, your millennial minister of truth. God bless you all, and Merry Christmas.